What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Danny and Bush coming at you with a rounds 2 and 3 mock draft. We're basically going to be taking over for where the first round left off. We got about, 8 hours until rounds 2 and 3 begin tonight. So if you guys are seeing this, this will probably get you excited for day 2 of the NFL draft. I know day 2 is always a big favorite of mine because a lot of the fantasy-related players go on day 2. So Danny was obviously out of it last night on the live stream.
A little bit.
Tuned in. But we still had fun in the first round. A lot of things happened. We'll definitely be going more in-depth over the landing spots of the prospects and kind of their outlooks and stuff. But Danny, how you doing this morning?
Doing well. I owe you guys a proper reaction to the Cowboys pick. Because you guys were enjoying life last year. You had me just screaming and jumping around about CeeDee Lamb. Let me give you my take on the Micah Parsons pick and the process leading up to it. 8th overall pick. I understand, J.C. Horn's a really good pick for the Panthers, but man, Rashawn Slater is on the board for you. Just take your tackle. You just traded for Darnold. Give him a chance behind the line. Whatever. J.C. Horn's gone. I'm like, okay, yeah, no shot. We got Surtain at 10. We're fine. We're living life. Denver with Justin Fields on the freaking board and needing a young, successful quarterback to take over, take Surtain after signing Fuller, Darby, and having Bryce Callahan, who was a Pro Bowl level slot corner last year. Dude, come on. At least for the Cowboys' perspective, you trade down from 10 to 12, you pick up an extra day 2 pick, and you still probably take the guy you were going to take at 10. That salvates it or gives it a little bit of salvation for me a little bit. But man, when Denver took Surtain, and I reread it this morning and I saw that, I'm like, dog, are people really that off Justin Fields? What the heck is this?
Yeah, they must have been. Trey Lance must have been their guy that they were wanting at 9, and that's why they traded for Bridgewater, because they knew that Trey Lance was going 3. So that's what my guess is. If you guys see Dwayne Johnson Jr. on the screen right now, the TDN mock draft machine is just making you finish out the first round for some reason. So we saw a guy that had the Rock's name, so we just picked him. All right, so we're gonna hit the intro, and then we're gonna get into the Jags pick. Okay, so the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock. We saw them go with a pair of Clemson teammates in the first round. Obviously, they have James Robinson, yet they took Travis Etienne in the first round. I'm guessing they just did that to appease Trevor Lawrence, which, much to the dismay of many fantasy players out there who have James Robinson, who traded for James Robinson, or who were holding James Robinson, hopefully you sold him, because we here at the Fantasy Stock Exchange told you to sell the guy because UDFAs don't have a lot of faith from their coaching staffs and their front offices, especially when they change in the offseason, which happened in Jacksonville. So on the board right now, to me, there's an obvious pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars at 33, and it's Trevon Merrick, who I would pick.
It's between 2 for me. You could either go Merrick or you can go and add a Christian Barmore, but I do agree that Merrick would be the pick. I was thinking for a second I was going to say Cosme, and then I realized, oh, yeah, they did re-sign Cam Robinson. So that being said, yeah, I totally agree. Trevon Merrick is the best safety in this class. And to the dismay of my Cowboys, who didn't add to the secondary last night, Trevon Merrick, who should be one of their top targets going into this day, is going to go off the board here at 33rd overall. So I think that's a great pick for the Jaguars.
Yeah, I definitely think they could go wide receiver as well, because they didn't add a wide receiver in the first round. I think they do want to add one at some point, and there's a lot of good ones on the board still. So there's a chance that they go wide receiver there, but I think Merrick probably was a good target for them at 25. So I think getting him in the second round is definitely a steal for them. And
fully agree. I think the Jets are running up to the podium in this season
right now.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you need something on that front seven apart from Quinnen Williams. Azeez Ojulari, one of the most fluid movers in this class, incredible bend. And for a guy that doesn't have as much experience as some in this class, he really has a good tool set of pass rush moves. And in my opinion, is the second best overall edge in this class. So getting him here in the second round, if you're a Jets fan, has to be fantastic, knowing that you added your star quarterback, you added a good offensive lineman. Now you can take Azeez Ojulari to give that defense another identity piece. So snag him up here.
Did it give you pause at all, knowing that you probably want to go offense at some point. And now you have, if you guys don't know, the compensation for the Jets trading up for Vera Tucker was both of their third-round picks. So they don't pick again after this pick until I believe it's like in the hundreds almost in the fourth round. So you're probably at a position where you want to go offense. You want to get maybe a running back or a wide receiver. 76. Why does it say 76?
That would be a third-round pick.
Oh, okay. Maybe they had 3 third-round picks then, because they dealt 2 of them. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know. TDN right now in terms of like everything like is kind of messed up, but 76th overall, that would be a third-round pick. So they still have
maybe
one
they do
more
have a third-round pick. I thought they traded both of them, so maybe like what might have some adjustments to do there. Either way, another pick that I think is very easy for the Falcons to make here is Javonte Williams. I think that's who they would pick. I know they went offense in the first round with Kyle Pitts, but I think Javonte Williams, you have no running game really. You have Mike Davis, who filled in well for Christian McCaffrey, but only was able to do that at a high level for a couple of games. He's not a guy that you want to give a 16-game workload to. And Javonte Williams, if nothing else, gives him a good compliment, even if you do like Mike Davis as part of your offense. And yeah, Javonte Williams to me is clearly the third best running back in this class. Yep. If you don't pick him here, the Dolphins will probably pick him with the next pick. So there's no way you're going to get him if you don't pick him here. And I think the Falcons are really going to like Javonte.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Arthur Smith needs his Derrick Henry type of runner between the tackles. And as much as I like Mike Davis, he's just simply not adding that level of physicality. Getting a guy like Javonte Williams, you took Kyle Pitts day one. You're clearly in win now. If you add Javonte Williams, let's be honest here, that's a fringe top 5 overall offense in the NFL. So I fully agree. Javonte Williams, lock him up here. You get your workhorse to complement what Arthur Smith is trying to do with that offense. I like it.
Yeah. And I think there's another pick on the board right now that the Dolphins would really like. And Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah being on the board, to me, seems like a big-time fit for them. You get a guy that you can play in the hybrid linebacker safety type of role. A guy from a Patriots system should know how to use somebody like that because, you know, they always use versatile linebackers, whether it's them playing edge/linebacker or playing safety/linebacker. So I think that makes a lot of sense for what the Dolphins would need.
And yeah, in terms of fit here, basically everybody was talking about the Parsons fit. He ended up going off the board 12th overall. They ended up taking Jalen Phillips at 18, which makes it more palpable that they would lean a coverage style type linebacker with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Because with Parsons, you're getting that guy who can really make an impact in that front seven, whereas Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah adds more versatility on the back end. I do think with Brian Flores, you get a guy who has that much versatility. Add him in to your defense, get another playmaker. I really like the fit of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah here in Miami.
Yep.
Heck, and in terms of like what we saw from the Patriots last year, he can be your Kyle Duggar type of player in that defense. So
yeah, and going back a ways, like they had Rodney Harrison back in the day play a role like that too. So the Eagles, they went and traded up. They don't have a third-round pick anymore because they traded up for Devontae Smith. I think that was a phenomenal move by the Eagles. I think he's exactly the type of receiver that you need for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts obviously has a connection with him, or he should have a connection with him too, going back to Alabama, which seemed like that was the theme of the first round with the Bengals taking Chase to pair with Burrow and the Jags getting ETN to pair with Lawrence. Everyone's just getting old teammates reunited. So the Philadelphia Eagles on the board right now, there's a number of different directions that they could probably go here. I think the cornerback position is one that they probably would have addressed if Devontae Smith was off the board and maybe potentially a Horn or a Surtain or even Farley had slipped to 12 in the first round. So who are the corners currently available on the board? I feel like they might still go in that direction.
I think Asante Samuel Jr. would be probably the best fit for them.
Yeah, I don't hate the fit there because, I mean, I don't know why it says tight end is their biggest need. Like, I literally have no clue why.
Even though they're probably just thinking, oh, yeah, Doug Peterson loves his 12 personnel sets. So, well, guess what? Nick Sirianni is now their new head coach. So,
yeah. And then again, with Merrick off the board, I don't think they would go safety personally because I think there's probably a significant drop off there. I think I would go with Asante Samuel Jr. here.
Yeah, I like a good fit there. Yeah, feels a big need for them. And currently, after Darius Slay, their cornerback depth chart is looking like Avonte Maddox, Grayland Arnold, Kayvon Wallace, Craig James, Lavert Hill. Like, it's just a whole hodgepodge of nothing. So getting ASJ here, his dad was a very integral part of the NFL when I started watching it. So get him here, link him up with the Eagles. I think that's a really good fit.
Yeah.
That being said, here you take Sam Cosmi.
Really? Yeah, I was literally going to run for Tevin Jenkins.
Either or. I currently have Cosmi higher, but if you want that pure right tackle because you have Jonah Williams, Bobby Hart's a complete fucking train wreck. I like it. So you get Jenkins there. Let's be honest here. They did sign Riley Reif, but I don't really think they view him as a big long-term plan of theirs.
On a one-year deal, I believe, too.
Heck, you want to play Jenkins at guard this year and eventually kick him out to tackle next year once Riley Reif's deal is done. That's still a good move in their own part. You get him here in the second round. You ended up going with Jamar Chase at 5. Yeah, I like it. Really good fit for what they're trying to do on offense.
Yeah, and I think the Bengals fans would have taken that any day of the week. If you'd have said, do you want Jamar Chase and Tevin Jenkins, or do you want Penei Sewell and Elijah Moore or Terrace Marshall? I think they would have taken the Chase side of that 10 times out of 10 because, to be honest, the Raiders should have taken Tevin Jenkins at 17.
They should have taken Christian Darrisaw.
They should have taken any tackle other than the one that they took, to be honest. So
it's the freaking Raiders. So when we get to their pick, because it's predictive, we might have to look at the 4th round, guys.
Yeah, pretty much. So with the Carolina Panthers on the board right now,
Cosmi to me.
You think they go Sam Cosmi? Yeah, they need a left tackle. That would make sense.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it. He's got the requisite athleticism that teams are looking at. He's got the experience with a big program. In my opinion, he was one of the late first round type of grades that I have currently on my board. So if you're looking at it right now, you have Cameron Irving, Greg Little manning your left tackle spot in terms of their 1-2 at the position right now. You plug Sam Cosmi in, takes over the spot. I think this is a run to the podium type pick after you go defense in the first round. You got to give Sam Darnold that type of protection.
The other 2 tackles on the board there, I also think have a chance to go ahead of Cosmi because we've heard that Eichenberg, the NFL might be pretty high on him, and Radin, same thing. So those guys could all be a fit for the Panthers as well. The left tackle position is one that they need to address, and they didn't obviously address it in the first round with Rashawn Slater on the board, which we both believe they probably should. But hey, maybe they thought, and a good foresight if they did, there's a big drop-off in the second round at the corner position because the difference between J.C. Horn and the corners that are currently on the board might be a bigger difference than the difference between Sam Cosmi and Rashawn Slater, in my opinion. So maybe they had some foresight there and they went with their gut and took J.C. Horn. Maybe they think he's like a very like a lockdown type of corner. I mean, it's a very important position. So if you have a lockdown corner in the NFC South, I mean, definitely a good position to have. So the Broncos on the board right now, they obviously went defense in the first round.
There's a couple different ways they can go here. Again, this is not a team with a ton of needs. So it shocked me that they didn't go with Justin Fields. But with that being said, we can't turn back the pick. They ended up going with Patrick Surtain. Their secondary don't need to touch anything. Let's be honest here. We're looking at it right now. Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, Pat Surtain, Bryce Callahan with Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons on the back end. You have no weaknesses in your secondary. That is a top 3 secondary in the NFL currently. We haven't even seen Pat Surtain play it down. That's how talented it is. You're looking at their overall team, though. The one area would probably be inside linebacker because Josie Jewell, he's fine, but he's not really making a pure difference. So if you look at the linebackers that are currently available, the one that sticks out to me, and it might be a reach to some, but I look at Jabril Cox, and you add a guy who has the coverage ability in the interior of your linebacking core. You got a guy in Alexander Johnson who can really contribute in the run game. Now you get Jabril Cox, who's that versatile, athletic weapon that could really absolutely cover lanes in the middle of the field, especially in that AFC West that requires a ton of attention to the tight end position. Let's just look at Travis Kelce. Jabril Cox can be your Travis Kelce combatant, if you will. He's got the athleticism, he's got the size, he's got the coverage ability in that middle of the defense. While he lacks a little bit in the run game, you're running a 3-4. You got a tackle machine, as I mentioned, with Alex Johnson. So it would negate that lack of ability, if you will, of Jabril Cox. So I don't know. I would lean Cox here. What are your thoughts?
I like the pick. I personally think Baron Browning is the best linebacker on the board, but it makes sense. You got versatility with your safeties too. To do some things with Cox in the coverage kind of scheme that you run. So yeah, I like the pick of Jabril Cox.
Perfect. Now we got the Lions on the board here after stealing away Penei Sewell.
Stealing Eli now. You're absolutely stealing Eli Moore because you have, like we have well documented, they need receivers. Jared Goff will love Elijah Moore. Like the type of receiver that Jared Goff would have wanted in the first round probably would have been Devontae Smith. or Jalen Waddle. Just you need a guy that can get open because Jared Goff is not the type of quarterback that's going to make a bunch of high difficulty, tight window throws. With Elijah Moore, you have a guy that is going to separate. He's going to create after the catch. He's going to make Jared Goff look a lot better than he is. And you took the premier tackle in this class in the first round to help protect Jared Goff. Now you get him a guy that he can throw to.
Agreed. And let's be honest here. If Elijah Moore lands on the Lions, he's rookie wide receiver 4. As much as I love Bateman, the talent, I can't overlook that situation instead of what Eli Moore's going to walk into a situation where 130 targets could be available. That's how decimated the receiver corps is for the Lions. Whereas Sean Bateman, what really do we expect from him? As
I expect him to make Lamar Jackson a better passer, personally. I think Bateman's that good. I think it could be like a B+ version of what Diggs did for Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think you have a point. And Eli Moore, honestly, he might be wide receiver 3 ahead of Waddle for me if he were to go to Detroit. The type of volume that he would get in Detroit is insane. The only issue with taking Elijah Moore in the second round here is that you got to figure next year they might look to add a more alpha style receiver to the offense and keep Elijah Moore as their like slot guy.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't even hate that as well because I think Elijah Moore is that efficient of a player. With that being said, we got the Giants back on the clock here after going with Kadarius Toney in the first round. Yikes. What are you leaning here? I'm thinking
I
maybe
like the linebackers for them.
Yeah, like a Baron Browning.
I actually think Nick Bolton's the type of guy that they would like a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you're currently looking at their linebacking core right now. So obviously, again, you have Blake Martinez in the interior. Their current second interior linebacker would be slated to be Reggie Ragland in their 3-4. And if you guys haven't checked out Reggie Ragland, he was he
pretty much hasn't been good since he played at Alabama. So
pretty much. So I do like it. You get Nick Bolton here, one of the most instinctual linebackers probably in this entire class. He might be the most overall instinctual linebacker in this entire class. Ready to play Mike for you. I absolutely would love the pick, and it would add a third linebacker selected in the NFC East in the top 40 picks of this draft. So,
yeah,
wild stuff. Let's lock it in here. And now we got the San Francisco 49ers on the clock here. Edge, IOL, cornerback listed here. They went with, obviously, Trey Lance in the first round. What are you leaning?
I think Landon Dickerson could definitely be a possibility for them. IOL, I definitely think that's a position that they're really thin at. I think there's a lot of good players on the board, man. Like this is a hard pick for them. I don't think they would. I mean, they could go Kelvin Joseph or a corner of some kind as well. I don't really have a preference here. I think if I were to make the pick, I think I would make it Landon Dickerson, but I wouldn't hate if you want to go corner here.
Well, I'm currently looking at their depth chart. They do technically have Alex Mack slated at their center, so maybe they lean more guard on the interior.
I mean, Dickerson is coming off of a torn ACL, though, so it isn't a bad thing to have a veteran like Mack as a starter for this year. Maybe you can slot Dickerson in at guard about halfway through the season, get him some experience, and then he takes over at center in 2022.
That's fair, because I was kind of looking at the right guard at Brunskill. I was probably leaning towards Wyatt Davis, but if you want Dickerson, I'm fine with slating him at guard.
I think Dickerson's a better prospect than Davis.
I like that.
So I'll just take Dickerson. I think he whether you play him at center, and he can play guard. It's not like he can't play guard.
That's fair.
If you just want to leave him at right guard and roll with Alex Mack for the foreseeable future, you can do that as well. So I think with the 49ers, you don't have many needs. You might as well get your new quarterback some more protection to the already stout offensive line that you have.
For sure. And obviously, if you guys are like old with the channel, you guys have watched the channel. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. You see the jersey behind me. This would be a spot where really 3 names are in consideration for me. It's Christian Barmore. You can get that interior defensive lineman to really help out Dan Quinn, because let's be honest here, you don't have much presence really at all on that defensive line apart from DeMarcus Lawrence in terms of set-in-stone type starters. And you got Micah Parsons yesterday, so you still need a back-end type of player. So I look at Christian Barmore on the interior defensive line. I would look at Kelvin Joseph or Ifeatu Melifonwu at corner. And at safety, I would look at either Richie Grant or Javon Holland. So 3 positions, 5 guys, if that makes sense. The one that I would lean to here would actually be Kelvin Joseph. In terms of a talent, he fits your cover 3 tremendously. He's sticky, man-to-man. He can play in that cover 3 system. He could play zone at a tremendous rate. He played in the SEC this year and was basically locking everybody down. The thing that really came with him were a little bit of character concerns. I don't know. That's what I've been seeing all over Twitter. I'm not a verified source, but according to a lot of people that I trust, he does have that type of stuff on the side. But guess what? The Cowboys indicated where they are at in terms of character concerns on day one already by taking Micah Parsons.
Mhm.
If you're looking at pure talent, you got the athleticism, you got the game tape, you got the experience in the SEC with Kelvin Joseph. You plug him in next to Trevon Diggs. You got some upside in that secondary because let's be honest here, if both those guys hit, they could be really good corners on cheap rookie deals for the next 4 years. So I absolutely love the fit of Kelvin Joseph here at, what would it be, 43rd overall. So yeah.
Who is the starting nickel corner of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I think it's Trey Herndon. I almost said Chris Herndon. I think it's Trey Herndon. No, let me just double check.
That's fine. I just wanted to know who it was.
Yeah, Trey Herndon.
Okay. I think this is where Pat Fryermuth comes off the board. Personally.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. You get another piece to get Trevor
Lawrence. You're working
comfortable.
out freaking Tim Tebow right now. Fuck that shit. Just take Pat Fryermuth in the second round. You got 2 second-round picks. Makes a lot of sense. He's the second best tight end according to most NFL teams in this draft. I think he might even be off the board at this point, to be honest. He could come off the board as early as, I don't know, the Bengals, the Panthers. Those teams could definitely look at him early in the second round. I think he's probably a top 50 pick in this draft. Yeah,
I fully agree. And with that being said, the Patriots, after taking Mac Jones at 15th overall, are back on the clock here in the second round. And
Terrace Marshall's a steal for them.
I agree.
That's a great pick for them. If they could pair Terrace Marshall with Mac Jones, that is a phenomenal pick. And I mean, we've had some reports that Terrace Marshall may slip a little bit because of some potential medicals when he went to Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, at this point in the draft, you're talking about a guy that would have been a first-round pick probably if these medicals were not a thing. So I would say top 50, top 60 type of pick is probably where he slips to, and that could end up being the number 1 wide receiver for the Patriots going forward, to be honest. It's that type of situation. You have some complementary pieces that you added in free agency, but no one's thinking that Nelson Aguilar is going to come in and be a number 1 receiver. So you got to add somebody.
Yeah, 100%. You add that true alpha that you envisioned N'Keal Harry of being. Terrace Marshall can be that for you. With that being said, the Chargers are on the clock here, and I talked about it in my Perfect Fits / Matchmaker video that we released this week. I think the pick's Rondale Moore. I think the pick is Rondale Moore, adding another speed element to this offense. I understand that Waddle, in terms of a fantasy fit, would have been more ideal stretching the field. But with Justin Herbert, we saw, although it was complete limitation at Oregon, that he could operate in that intermediate game, getting his playmakers the ball in space. He showed that at Oregon. Well, guess what? No other receiver available at this point gives you that after the catch intermediate game potential of a Rondale Moore. So sliding him here into that offense would honestly be exciting. He would play that Robert Woods role for a Brandon Staley-led team. So I would absolutely love that.
Yeah, and I think the Raiders might go back to the well at Alabama because Christian Barmore's still on the board. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. I mean, it might have even been better if they would have taken him at 17 and taken Leatherwood in the second round. If you just want to flip-flop those, I think less people would have had concerns with that. But, I mean, they like big schools, man. It's how the Raiders have always been. It's how Gruden's always been. You get another Alabama player here. They took a lot of Clemson players in the past. They just like big schools. So I think if you got a guy like that from a big school, another guy that they probably would consider with this board is Liam Eichenberg, considering that they need an offensive lineman still, even with the addition of Alex Leatherwood, who some people actually projected to guard anyway. So, I mean, you cut your whole offensive line. Adding 2 straight offensive linemen also wouldn't be a terrible thing for the Raiders to do.
Yeah, 100%. With that being said, we're back on the Cardinals after they took Zaven Collins at 16th overall. I like the player. The problem is the Cardinals didn't know how to use Isaiah Simmons last year. Let's just get a front 7 version of Isaiah Simmons, which is basically what Zaven Collins is. Maybe they plan on playing him on the edge because he's 270 pounds. I don't know. At the end of the day here, they still need corner. They still need a guy because let's be honest here, their current corner depth chart is Robert Alford, Malcolm Butler, Byron Murphy, and Sean Williams as their top 4. So I like Byron Murphy. You got that guy who can play your slot, so maybe you lean towards a prototypical outside corner here, which is why I'd probably say either Melifonu or Tyson Campbell.
I like Tyson Campbell for them. I think that's a good fit. He was a guy that was rumored to potentially sneak into the first round too, so he could be more of a value pick with the way that the NFL sees this. So, yeah, I like that fit. I also think they could go wide receiver at that pick because they were rumored to potentially want to move up for Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle or something like that. And I'm willing to bet that they tried to with the Cowboys and the Eagles did.
Diami would be nice too.
Yeah, Diami definitely would be nice, but I think you got to go corner.
Agree.
Still some good options on the board. There'll probably still be some good options on the board in the 4th round because they don't. I believe the Cardinals do not have a 3rd round pick.
You're right. Because
the interesting thing about that pick though that we just made is that does that mean like Chase Edmonds and James Conner is their backfield next year? Like because they don't have a pick till the 4th round, right? Like they can't really add a running back of note until the 4th round. So I think that would be really interesting if that were to happen, if they don't go running back with their 2nd rounder, because I mean, I could see them trading down. I think that would probably be the smart move for them to do to maybe try and recoup a 3rd round pick or an extra 4 so you can move back into the 3rd or something like that, because you guys do need a running back if you're the Cardinals. Like, you got to change a pace back and a guy that can't stay healthy on 1st and 2nd down. You got to add at least another piece to the backfield.
What would you make of it if they just waited and added like Herbert or Mitchell?
I would love that. I think that'd be a great fit.
Like how would you value those two coming in? Or
I mean, they would definitely be targets of mine. Depending on where everyone else lands, I'm not sure how I would rank them accordingly, but I'm sure they would be targets of mine if they were to land in a situation like that.
Agreed. So with that being said, the Dolphins, speaking of running back,
they're going to take Trey Sermon here if this happens. I think they would take Trey Sermon here
over Creed.
Yeah, I do. I think Trey Sermon might not honestly make it this far in the draft. I think the NFL really likes Trey Sermon. He played for a big school. Obviously, had a big-time playoff run. He played for 2 big schools, actually. So I think the big thing with Trey Sermon is that a lot of people are remembering his playoff run, and it's fresh in the minds of a lot of people, which, contrary to like Chuba Hubbard, for example, where he has a lot more recency bias behind him, I think Trey Sermon is going to get overdrafted, in my opinion. I could see Trey Sermon coming off the board at like 35, 36. It wouldn't shock me. So I personally wouldn't take him there, but I do think it's possible because I have a late 3rd round grade on Trey Sermon. I don't think he's worth this pick at all, but I think he is going to go the side.
Yeah. So and in terms of my grade, he's currently an early 4th rounder, RB7 in this class for me. So a little sneak peek. But with that being said, the Washington football team's on the clock here, and I think if Dylan Radins makes it this far, he's going to be the pick.
I don't think there's any way Liam Eichenberg's still on the board at this pick.
If you want to take him, that's fine. The reason why I would say Radins, because they currently have Jerron Christian, who could play a year if you need him to. And I think Radins' upside usurps that of Eichenberg. But if you want to take Eichenberg,
I don't mind that. Eichenberg. The only thing with Eichenberg, man, is that he's a Notre Dame offensive lineman. Like, you know what you're getting. Just like Wisconsin and Iowa offensive lineman, you just know what you're getting. So I think you're probably right for this specific fit. And honestly, I think these next 2 picks are offensive linemen, or offensive tackles. So I think Radins makes sense. So let's give him Radins.
Yeah, and then speaking of, you just drafted Justin Fields. Between Eichenberg, between Jalen Mayfield, whichever one you want to plug in here. They currently have Leno on the left, and they have Jermaine Ifedi on the right. Whichever one you want here.
Eichenberg at right tackle and put Ifedi as your swing guy. To me, that makes just total sense. Leno is a serviceable left tackle in the NFL, so you probably don't need to upgrade from him just yet unless you had like a Penei Sewell type of prospect for that. So, you throw Eichenberg. He's going to start at some point probably for you in his rookie season at right tackle. So, you got Ifedi. If he takes a little bit longer, you have some insurance there. If nothing else, you just add some insurance to your investment, which you just made in trading up for Justin Fields.
Yeah, I fully agree. With that being said, the Titans are on the clock here. Do you go Jalen Mayfield or do you go with De'Ami Brown personally? Because those are the 2 it's down between for me.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a right tackle, obviously, because you tried to draft Isaiah Wilson last year, and that clearly didn't work out. You also don't have a tight end because you lost Jonnu Smith.
You don't have a wide receiver 2 either. You don't have a wide receiver 2 either. So I think the pick has to be offense because you obviously, in my opinion, and the Titans have done this already. They took Jeffrey Simmons in 2019 coming off of an injury, and they got probably a top 10 player in that draft. And you just got another probable top 10 player in this draft with Caleb Farley at 22. So I would personally go for a weapon. And I think De'Ami Brown is probably the best guy on the board for me. Yeah. And he also fits the best, I would say, with what AJ Brown does. You complement what he does well. And I think at tight end, I think you can get another guy in the 3rd round. Dude, for the record, I would absolutely love the fit of De'Ami Brown for AJ Brown stock in Dynasty. Because De'Ami Brown is a guy who doesn't have to rely on huge volume in support of AJ Brown. You take Diami, you have him play that outside receiver role, whether it's Jazeer or your X, and you can really use A.J. Brown as a move. You can play him at really any of the receiver spots. And if you want him to play that slot for you and be a 150 target per year type guy, A.J. Brown can do that for you. So if Diami Brown,
it's not a guy that's gonna like take away too much attention, right? Because like with Elijah Moore, you're risking the potential that Elijah Moore is really good, which he is, and he commands like 120 targets over the middle in the slot. With Diami Brown, I don't think there's any chance in hell that Diami Brown ever commands that kind of volume in the NFL unless he just becomes like a true X receiver or something like that. I envision him more as like a Z receiver, like a DJ Chark, gets like 115 targets max.
You know who Diami kind of reminds me of?
Who's that?
He has a little bit of Michael Gallup to his game. He can play that 100, 110 target role, be a really, really good number 2 receiver for you with A.J. Brown. Again, you mentioned the vertical ability. Similar to Michael Gallup, he can go up and get it, be that physical outside receiver for you that you need. I absolutely love that for Diami Brown and the Titans fit.
There's a pick on the board right now that I really like, and it is at wide receiver also.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we're doing this kind of predictively. Collins seems like a type of guy that the NFL is going to like.
Yes, that's what I mean.
So with the Indianapolis Colts, you have T.Y. Hilton, who came back for an extra year. You have Paris Campbell, who's been pretty much injured his entire career in the NFL. And you have Michael Pittman Jr. So you should add somebody to that core, in my opinion, whether it's a second or third or fourth round pick. Why not get a guy that can turn into your eventual number 1 receiver and has some time to develop behind a guy like T.Y. Hilton, who's going to be there for this season? So I think either Nico Collins or Tamorrion Terry makes a lot of sense for that type of role. I personally would pick Tamorrion Terry. I think the Colts would pick Nico Collins in this situation.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of predictive, I think Nico Collins would go off the board, but I agree with you. With that being said, they did it, man. Najee Harris, let's celebrate, man. He got the landing spot that we needed him to land in. And I'm ecstatic for the record. He's going to be my number 1 overall skill player in terms of fantasy drafts. Yeah, now we're on the board here. But guess what? The Steelers still need offensive line. And as much as they need tackle over interior, if Creed Humphrey makes it this far, you cannot pass on him if you're the Steelers. And if you have Najee Harris, or if you have the rookie 101 in a non-superflex, 103 in a superflex, and the Steelers go out, take Najee with first-round capital, and then add to the offensive line on day 2, you have to be ecstatic. I look at Creed Humphrey. Let's quickly look at their interior offensive line because I do think they do need pieces. They lost
Pouncey to retirement, right? So
currently their slated starter at center is BJ Finney. You kick him out, say, "Hey, see you later, Finney. You're finished," and you get Creed Humphrey. I think
there's a possibility if the board shaked out the way it has so far for what we've done, they would potentially try and trade up for a guy like Eichenberg who can start right away because you lost Villanueva, who's your left tackle, right? You have Banner back who started for you at right tackle for a period of time, so he's fine at right tackle. You still have DeCastro at left guard, obviously. Your big holes on your offensive line, in my opinion, are center and left tackle. So if Landon Dickerson starts to slip, if Liam Eichenberg starts to slip, if Sam Cosmi starts to slip, someone like that, that's where I could see the Steelers maybe getting a little aggressive and trying to go up and secure a starting caliber offensive line early in the second round.
Yeah, I fully agree. So with that being said, the Seahawks are on the clock. After, again,
why does Ronnie Perkins just feel like a Seahawk?
I was going to say Basham, man. He feels like a Seahawk as well. Basham has a little, like, Dunlap to his game, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Edge should be the pick here. I mean, the Seahawks just, like, they don't really add anything to their edge rushers. They just, like, pick bad edge rushers over and over again. So they'll probably pick, like, Quincy Roche here if they were
or Hamilcar Rochette.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'll let you make the pick. I don't.
Really you said Ronnie. I'll respect the Ronnie Perkins. I think that would also be a good fit. So we'll just lay them in here, and let's quickly look at tackle. If anybody, if Mayfield makes it to this far to the Rams, I just don't see how they don't pick him.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, is Whitworth still there, right?
Yeah, he's the starting left tackle.
Yeah, so like just put a guy behind Whitworth, learn for a year. Like shit, maybe he plays for another 3 years. Who the hell knows? But Jalen Mayfield's a developmental tackle, and it's a good value at that pick. What is this pick, like 58 or something like that? It's definitely good value for him.
57, yeah. It's crazy value. With that being said, the Chiefs are on the clock here, and man, I just see them taking a weapon. I see like whether it's Eskridge, Rogers, someone like that. I just see them taking a weapon. Where would you lean though overall? Like,
do we want to go with a brand pick? Because I want to give him Tamorrion Terry.
Fuck it. I'm down. Let's do it.
Yeah, we have to scroll all the way down because the disrespect on Tamori and
Yeah,
Terry's
bro.
name by the draft network.
Walt Fillier, baby.
Yeah, like get out of here. Like, come on now. Like, whoever watched Tamori and Terry for TDN did not watch his 2019. I do not care what they say. There's no way they watched this guy's 2019 if they ranked him that low.
Agreed. With that being said, the Browns are on the clock here, and we can quickly look back at Edge because I think that would be the pick.
Osai makes a lot of sense for them.
Osai, yeah, I like it. Let's give them Joseph Osai here. Get that versatile edge rusher to be able to work and develop behind Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. I almost said Jason Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney at least for year one, and then when Jadeveon Clowney's done next year, got Joseph Osai to come in and plug away. So sure. I like that. Saints are on the clock here after taking, I believe it was Peyton Turner, correct?
Yeah, they took Peyton Turner. Thank you for the Saints for reaching on players.
Guess what? You guys still have a huge need at corner. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like Marshawn Lattimore, he's suspended at least what would you say he would be suspended at least for 4 to 8 games?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if he gets suspended. He's going to probably get like a suspension of some kind, but you never know with these things. Sometimes we assume people are going to get suspended and they ended up not getting suspended. I think with what you lost with Janoris Jenkins, you probably want some length at your corner position. So Melifonwu makes some sense from that perspective because I know he's a bit more of a lengthy corner. But like Molden's the best nickel in this class. I think you have like Gardner Johnson to play nickel for you. You probably don't need to go in that direction.
Yeah.
I'm not as I'm not as familiar with the corner class this deep. So
Aaron Robinson's also he's got more versatility than Molden, which is probably why he might be in higher regard. But he is truly a nickel corner, in my opinion. I believe he's only 5'10". Let me just check. He's 5'11", to be fair. So. But he played majority of snaps in nickel with Tig Allen on the outside for UCF. So that would probably be his ideal fit. I do agree. You mentioned Ifeatu Melifonwu. He's got the requisite length and he's got the requisite athleticism. I know. Comment down below requisite because that's all I'll say. That's
adequate is another one that you say.
Adequate, requisite, whatever. Let's plug them in. You need that outside corner.
For sure.
Easy.
Yeah, we'll try and motor through these quick.
Yeah, we're taking a little time.
We'll just go like minimal analysis on the third round. Once we close up the second round, we'll kind of just go like 20 seconds per pick on the third round. So the Buffalo Bills obviously have a need at running back. And
Greg Rousseau,
oh yeah, that was a bad pick. I don't know why they did that. I think corner is also a possibility for them. With this kind of I think a guy. I don't know why I could see Paulson Adebo going here. I don't know why that makes a lot of sense to me. He's a guy that was once considered like a very good prospect and just had a bit of a down stretch. I could see something like that. They could go in a number of different directions here. For my sake, I hope they don't take the guy that I want to pick 33.
I know who that is. Yeah. So with that being said, I won't take that running back. Let's look at fuck it. We can go corner. If you want to take a Debo, I think that's a fine pick.
I think a Debo makes sense. You get a guy that has some upside, and I think he has a lot of starting experience too. If you need to play him as your CB2 or your CB3 at some point in his rookie season, I think he can do that. He just is a guy that probably needs some coaching, and I think with McDermott's coaching staff, they've proven the ability to coach up especially defensive players and help them become their like best selves or whatever. So the Packers went with Eric Stokes in the first round. I think Amon-Ra would be the type of receiver that they would really like. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think you get a guy that can play the slot position for you for sure. Like, if nothing else, like Amon-Ra St. Brown should be a very capable slot receiver in the NFL. I think he has a little bit more upside than he's given credit for. A lot of people just assume he's just some like bum slot receiver. But let's not forget that a guy like Tyler Boyd, a guy like Jarvis Landry have finished as wide receiver ones in fantasy in the past. And I think Amon-Ra St. Brown has that kind of upside.
Also, the funny thing is he's going to be reunited with his brother.
True. Yeah.
But with that being said, we got the Chiefs on the clock after taking that weapon with the Ravens pick they got in that Orlando Brown trade. Sorry, my muffled words early in the morning. That being said, here you could go linebacker. You could go a Baron Browning type.
Yeah, I think Browning's a pretty good value here. I would just take him, to be honest. I wouldn't even talk about it.
So you got him. You got Willie Gay. You got a decent, young-looking linebacker core for the foreseeable future. I like it. Now, I'm going to go to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to like both Carter and Gainwell, and I think if either of them are there at 64, they make a lot of sense for what they need. They went with Joe Tryon in the first round. You got yourself probably what your biggest need was on your roster was the third edge rusher, if I had to say. This year, what was their biggest need? For the future, though, I think running back is their biggest need because you have Ronald Jones on the last year of his rookie contract. You have Leonard Fournette on a 1-year deal. You have Gio Bernard on a 1-year deal. You get a guy like Michael Carter with, if nothing else, this makes Gio Bernard expendable. Like, he'll probably get cut if this happens. He probably won't even start a game for the Bucs in a Bucs jersey because Michael Carter can do everything that Gio Bernard could do back in 2013 when Gio Bernard was drafted. So I think you get basically a younger Gio Bernard with a guy like Michael Carter.
Yeah, I mean, the people that are saying that they don't need a running back because they signed Gio Bernard to a veteran minimum contract just doesn't make sense.
Like, it's like when we signed LaShawn McCoy last year and everyone was like, he's going to take over Rojo's starting job. It's like, no, he's not. Okay, so we're only going to do the second round of this mock draft just because we realized that the TDN mock draft machine had some picks and trades not accounted for. So we're only going to keep this to the second round. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Enjoy the draft tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Cowboys got the three third round picks in their arsenal now. We'll see what happens. That being said, take care, y'all.